Bine v-am găsit și mulțumesc pentru introducere. De dragul pasiunii pentru un meniu internațional și cu permisiunea voastră o să schimb puțin limba prezentării în engleză. Asta e și pentru că am o mică audiență aici care vorbește engleză și vă salut din Olanda. Sper să ne revedem în curând în edițiile următoare într-un eveniment face-to-face. O să încep. If we would be now in a face-to-face event, I would ask how many of you have experienced a change in 2020. And I imagine I would see a room full of raised hands or I wonder for how many of you it is clear and important now how to be fully prepared for handling a change. And I invite you to discover in 20 minutes how change done with creativity by the leadership can make all the difference in the business world. My name is Diana Debie. I'm a change manager consultant, as Ciprian mentioned, currently in maternity leave, but I do have a contract as business partner with Entity Data. And more recently, I joined the startup as change guru for the climate change company. But behind the LinkedIn profile, I'm actually experiencing the most amazing and challenging change management project of my life. I became a mom, go live 4 months ago. So this is to give you a bit of background on how I felt working on this presentation. Actually, the picture in the left sums it up pretty well. And in case you might hear some baby sounds in the meantime, my daughter might have some comments on this presentation. We all love stories, so before going into the details of my slide, I would like to share a personal story. I think it's the first time I'm sharing something so personal in a business context, but 2020 I think brought more need for connectivity, and we did reach in all people's home, working from home. I do promise it's not a story for babies though. In 2017, I was attending my first BusinessMark event as a speaker. What a better time to talk about changes, I thought at that time. I didn't know yet the ones that would come in 2020. In that year, after living for 11 years in Bucharest and hitting rock bottom in almost every aspect of my life, I took the courage to do a massive change. I moved to Cluj-Napoca and started a new job in a new city where I didn't know anyone. And within the first months of the job, I needed to travel to China for the go live of a global Oracle implementation project. And actually I did that right after the BusinessMark conference. Little did I knew at that time that I was about to face another major change in my personal life. I still remember vividly the first time I stepped into the airport in Shanghai. I really felt I was on another planet. Everything was so changed from what I lived in Romania. The people were looking at me as if I was an alien, and the amount of changes that happened there. Speaking of changes, I'm here today to share with you how change, creativity, and leadership can mix up together very well. And actually, they cannot go one without the other, because leadership holds the creativity to inspire change. And from all the resources and knowledge I gained as a certified trainer in NLP, I want to share with you 2 of the tools that I took with me in change management work, and of course also in my personal life to handle all the changes I'm facing every day. So hope you can still remember this sign, the symbol for the square root, and I invite you to the creativity challenge number 1, to use mathematics to understand change. And I would like to go through the first tool that I mentioned. It relates to the universal model of change. This was one of the strongest concepts I learned about in neuro-linguistic programming, and I actually use it every time I face a change, also in my personal life, because it brings me so much more understanding and a more useful perspective about where I am and what's coming. According to the theories of Clark Graves, he was a professor of psychology, and he developed a series of theories of adult human development. I think most of you might know his work through spiral dynamics. Clark Graves declares that our life is a succession of chaos and stability. This pattern of change is what it's called in NLP a radical, so the symbol of the square root. In the area described by points A to B, we have a period of stability. Here we, as people, societies, the organizations that we work for, we are perfectly adapted to the environment. In this area, we are equipped to meet the challenges and problems that appear. It's the place where we feel safe and comfortable because, yeah, we know what works, we know how it works, and especially we have the resources or the strategies to manage what is not working. Here we feel good, we feel in control and safe. We are in the famous comfort zone or business as usual. But as we continue in the comfort zone, we reach a point in time when doubts arise. At point B, we wake up one day and look around and see that things don't work out anymore. We don't recognize very well what, because practically nothing is changed, but something seems to be wrong. And I think we all can relate to that feeling. It happens in our career when we no longer perform as we used to, in business, when the numbers go down and we don't know why. But in the universal model of change, what happens next is that we begin to slide downhill, and most probably we hit the famous rock bottom. And this is where the chaos time frame begins. The feeling that something is wrong is growing, the frustration and dissatisfaction are getting stronger. And here we need to do something, but what? And from what I've seen from my experience, the first and most handy strategy is just to look back, see what worked in the past, and try to do more of that. Maybe we do a new marketing campaign, we prospect more customers, we make more meetings, or on the other side, we start to cut budgets, we start to tighten the rules, force people to increase productivity, promise ourselves we'll do better quarter by quarter, but the more we do this, the more we slip down. And that's because old strategies no longer work. Another strategy that is, the number one challenge for a change manager is when people are trying to adapt the system, preserving its main features. Here, a change takes place within the system, but the system itself doesn't change. Here, usually people who come to coaching or leaders that want to make changes within the organizations are saying, I want to change, but I want to remain the same. Or we can choose the other path, the path from point C to point D. That comes with a change to a whole new structure of values, with new ways of thinking and even a major change in the personality of the employees. This change is often generated by external events or when we really hit the rock bottom. And this event can take place at the personal level, or as it happened last year in 2020 with the coronavirus, and I think we all felt it. That was a massive collective change. Something external takes us by surprise. It finds us without strategies to manage what is happening. And we all seen how this comes through, viewing the pandemic that affected the entire planet. In point C, the amount of negative emotion we perceive is large. We feel frustration, we feel anger, anxiety, and the awareness that a change is needed is actually stronger than ever. And pretty much that's the only good part. It's like we can't move left or right. It's dark, we don't see where we are going, what is next. And the only thing that is left for us to do here is to continue. We don't know where we're going, but we're going somewhere. So there is something there that tells us keep going. Here is the place where the old world has fallen and the new world has not yet been born. So it's the space between the old and the new. Here we form new neurological connections, we form new strategies, new behaviors. We ask questions about ourselves, and this doesn't happen very, very often. And I think we find ourselves humble in front of what's happening, but most importantly, in front of the potential that is within us, and we discover it. Here is the place where the character is formed. It's the place where strength is reached, and it's that point in which we are coming to the surface again. Because further, as we keep going, at some point, and maybe after trying many times to return to the old structure, a detachment from the past happens. It's like we're launching a rocket. And the reason we struggle so much with change and tend to beautify the past, remember only what was good, and forget quite easily what was not working so well. It's actually our attachment to the feeling of security and stability, and this is a very important human need. But once we have developed new strategies and connections, we begin to look to the future, to detach ourselves from the past, and we see that a new vision opens up. So suddenly there is light, and on the way to point D, we do a breakthrough, and our light pops. We come out of all the darkness into a new world, and here the amount of energy we have is unlimited. The puzzle pieces come together. We make connections. We see opportunities. We feel the synergy between us and the colleagues. And most importantly, we focus on solutions. I noticed this time as the best of the individuals, because I see how we all have motivation, enthusiasm, energy, power, and that's because we have developed new strategies and ways of thinking that we now consolidate in the new world that was built. And although might seem strange, I think we should all be grateful for the crisis we went through, because it pushed us to evolve and be better than we were before. And now that we have created this new world, we have the feeling of security and stability again, and we feel very well equipped to meet the challenges of the new environment. And that's the area that you see in the slide from D to A+. So I consider this universal pattern of change a vital thing to consider when we are dealing with changes within the organization. And once all the leaders are aware of this process, I think it's much easier to explain and to overcome the fear of change that was mentioned previously, and to always bear in mind that every change becomes a great opportunity, because there is a growth and an evolution that would never happen otherwise. When a change is coming, it's important to remember that it's a radical, it's not a straight line, and at the end of it, we are all bigger and stronger. And I think the sooner the employees understand the dynamic of change, and of course they are given the proper support to cope and learn through the chaos times, I think the more successful the transformation is. So to sum up this math theory, Robin Sharma summarized it the best. Change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous in the end. So my invitation here is to use change management for the hard and messy parts, and maybe your best wine to celebrate a gorgeous ending. And remember, with every heartbeat, there is a change. Imagine this heartbeat graph, that it's actually a series of radicals, and from time to time a new one appears, because we live in a continuous journey through chaos and stability, and life itself is continuing to change. Another powerful tool to facilitate the learning needed when we are dealing with change, especially the major ones within the organization, is to be aware that a change requires a learning process, and we all learn in different ways. Leo Buscaglia says that change is the end result of all true learning. Therefore, I want to have a quick introduction into the format model. This was developed initially by Bernice McCarthy, I think in 1980s, and it's based on research from many fields, but basically it's a summary of learning styles, research done on learning styles. It was developed initially to help children learn better in school, but now it's used all around the world for engaging the audience, and you'll understand why. The format model is a framework for understanding the way the people learn, grow, and evolve, and there are 4 types. The people that are in Q1, in the first quadrant, they want to know why. So people in this quadrant usually learn through experiencing and watching. They are full of imagination. They like being absorbed into feelings, spending time reflecting, seeking personal meaning and involvement. And they will always be asking the question, why? People in the second quadrant, what you see there mentioned with what, they learn by watching and thinking. So they are the analytical type. They like to listen and to think about information, and they base their understanding and learning on facts and what the experts think. So they will always ask the question, what, in a training. And to engage these people, you need to share your facts, data, and statistics. And this is a quadrant where most presenters step in. And we are used to presenting lots of facts and data. So the tendency is to begin with the what section. And the problem with doing this before starting with the first one is that you will lose the audience attention if they don't see the meaning or the relevance to their experience. And I admire very much Simon Sinek. He has a dedicated work on this topic, and it's called Start With Why. I invite you to research it if you're not aware of it. In Q3, there are the people who need to know how. They are learning by thinking and doing, and they are very happy experimenting, building and creating something useful. And they like applying useful idea. And their favorite question is how. So for engaging these type of people, they need to receive the specific instructions, the user manual. And they want to know how they can apply that to their work in a practical way immediately. So you lose them at the theory. And in Q4, there are the people who want to know what if. They are learning by doing and feeling. the research is calling them dynamic learners, and that's because they are constantly seeking for hidden possibilities, exploring new ideas to create original adaptations. They basically learn by trial and error and self-discovery. They will ask the question, okay, what if I try this in another field, or what if I do it differently? And they are usually the people that skip the user manual, and they just find new ways to go around. So now that we know more about what are the learning styles, let's see how we can use change management and unleash the creativity with the format. So I invite you to the creativity challenge number 2, format the change. I don't have the magic recipe, but I do have the magic questions. I invite you to be creative the next time you'll be involved in a change. Structure your every message, presentation, training, workshop delivered to the people that are impacted by a change using the following structure. And I like to say that when a change seems too big or overwhelming, just format it. The structure is starting with why, and leadership will need to explain and have a clear vision, why are we changing? In the second part of the message, of the presentation, of the life events that every company needs to organize when a change is appearing, is the one in which we need to explain what is changing, but also what will remain the same, and what happens if we don't change. These are some things that once explained, they will remove a lot of resistance to change or fear of change. The third part of the structure refers to how we are changing, and give the people the possibility to know how they can do this. And in here, make sure you provide the training, facilitate any learning, because the people will need new skills to adapt to a new world that you are inviting them to. And my favorite part, answer the question, what if this change is successful? What happens if this change is successful? To show the people the light at the end of the tunnel, and after you reach the gorgeous ending, what else is possible? This is a beautiful question to answer. During that business trip to China, in front of the Marriott Hotel in Suzhou, I met the man that became my husband. My change management mission helped not just for a successful Oracle implementation, but also for my personal life. We allowed the changes that we're living to bring us together and create something very powerful further. So I overcame my rock bottom to a completely new world, and I'm grateful every day for doing so, and for all the changes that experience brought to our lives. So we live happily ever after in the end. Thank you very much for your attention.